Hi, this is a quick tutorial on how to use the AI capability of Texture Remix. You'll need to have Stable Diffusion Web UI installed before you can actually leverage AI inside Blender. So head over to the website. I'll link it in the description of the video, and you just need to install it. So you scroll down and under installation, if you've got NVIDIA, you should choose this link here. So I'll just open a new tab and just follow these 4 steps, all right? Once it's installed, just note here that that's the URL that it runs. And inside Texture Remix, you'll see that's the URL. If you do change that in your config, just make sure that this is updated. Okay, so now we have Stable Diffusion installed. We need to enable APIs. So there's a very easy way to do this. What we do is we navigate to your Stable Diffusion folder, right click over here and say New Text Document. Call this SD API API.bat, B-A-T. This is for Windows, and yes, I want to make it. Right click on it and say more options, and I want to edit. Okay. And in the documentation, the help guide, I provide this set of um, code to install. The key is this one here, right? Set command line args equals API, dash API. That basically tells it to enable APIs when you run it. So now we have this. And instead of running Stable Diffusion, the web UI with the bat folder, you see here, you run it with this one. So essentially what it does, it boots up as you would normal, but it enables API calls. So I'll let this boot up, and then we can execute. Okay, when you see the screen, it means it's running. Just make sure you minimize this. You don't close this, you minimize it, so we can talk to Stable Diffusion. Back in Blender, I'm just going to make a quick scene so we can render something quite cool. So however you want to set it up, you can do this. I'm just going to make an array on the Y. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to make like a city with buildings inside it. Okay. One little tip here, I'm going to move the camera around so you can actually pilot the camera inside Blender. What you do is you select your camera and you push shift and then tilde, which is the key next to the number 1 on the keyboard. And that lets you pilot it with WASD. Very handy to move things in position, scene, settings, however you want to render, right? Okay, very rudimental scene. I'm just going to move these up. Scale this just a little bit on the Z, just over here. And in fact, what I'll do is I'll rotate this a little bit to give a little bit dynamic building, right? This is a demo, right? Okay. So now I want to render. I push N on the keyboard and say Remix, scroll to the bottom, enable APIs. And because we have this running, we can click that. If it's not running, you won't be able to click it. And now we just give it a prompt. So city scene. Going to choose a style over here. I'm going to say cyberpunk. This is a very cool feature where you can stack styles, right? You can add multiple styles together to build up something that you want to render. And what I'll do here is also, I'll just say I don't want low quality. So I'll add in a negative. So anything negative, it will try not to produce. You need to give it a temporary folder. If you don't, you won't be able to render. So just choose a temp location on your computer somewhere. Let's go for this one. And one more thing, because of rendering with AI, it does take a bit of time. I always start with 512. That's the default for some of the models. And then when you like it, you can increase the size, right, to go higher and higher. And you can also upscale, etc. So I'll say render. And now, if you look over here, it's sending a request, and it's going to start rendering an image for me. And there you go, image number 1, right? A city. Doesn't look anything like I want it to. And the reason why is the denoising strength. Right now this is set so very, very low. That means it doesn't change much. If you set it high to number 1, it's going to change things dramatically. You'll see now, it's going to render. There we go. Completely different to what I wanted. Okay, so that's why we have control net. And what we can do is we can enable control net. I'm going to use depth. and this will try and match the scene as much as possible. Over here. Takes a little time to render, you'll see, because it has to load the control net model in place. And I'll minimize this, and then it'll pop up. See, so it's starting to look a bit more like the scene that I've got over here. What you can do for more control is you can enable an image to image. Text to image just takes in, you'll see the depth map. But if you do image to image, it also takes in account the actual image that you're sending through. So I'll keep that. And what I'll do here is I'll just reduce this to 0.8 and we'll hit a render. And there you go, right? So if we just compare these together, you know, it's got the row over here, got a row over there, got the piece of back, which is that, and it's interpreting it in various ways. The more information you give it, the more your scene will start to render the way you want it, right? Also, a handy little trick is there's a view. So if I just say front view, when you're doing different types of rendering, you can easily keep the same prompt, just changing the camera view to give it more information. It just adds to the prompt behind the scenes. So super, super handy. If you like the seed, you can always fix it over here, or if you hit random, it goes back to -1, which is random, and you can increase the steps too. That means it increases the number of iterations to make it a better quality. Hope that helped, and stay tuned, there'll be some more videos coming through. Bye.